Hello, my friends. How's everybody doing? Welcome to our Tuesday discussion around all of the stuff that's going on with the Game Awards. We are going to get into, it's basically the road to the rocket and ray guns is kind of how I'm envisioning this, because this is, getting us prepped for the discussions around all the biggest titles of the year. We know that Jeff Keighley and his team have put together the nominations for the Game Awards. I've gone through all of the nominations that I can confidently comment on. First of all, I do want to say that really terrific choices for all of the nominations for the Game Awards. Everything that I saw was deserving. There may be one or two choices that are a little bit questionable, but I think the list is really good. There are just so many fantastic games from this year. I didn't know if there were going to be that many come the end of the year, and it sure looked like there were a couple of biggies out there, 2 or 3 biggies that were going to take it all, right? But let's get into it. We're going to start with sports and racing nominations. We got F1 22, FIFA 23, NBA 2K23, Gran Turismo 7, and Ollie World. And I would give it to NBA 2K23. So this is the choice that I would give it to. Yes, they're all solid games. You can't really go wrong with them. I happen to love basketball, and I'm always super impressed with what the 2K team and Visual Concepts puts together with their basketball games. This year's story had lots of weird quirks and twists and turns, but the core gameplay was just so freaking phenomenal. And yes, you have to also play the game called Avoid the Microtransactions. It's a very popular game. It's like a mini game in all the sports games. Avoid spending more money on cards and stuff. But NBA 2K23 is, I don't know, it's a sensational sports experience. So that would be my choice. I don't know if it's going to win. Racing games are also in that category. And the one thing that I would say about that is that it's really weird that Need for Speed Unbound isn't in that list, because I've been playing that and it's insane. It's so much fun. I would absolutely have that on that list. Okay, let's move on to the indie nominations. We've got Cult of the Lamb, we've got Neon White, we've got Sifu, we've got Stray, we've got Tunic. You may not be surprised to learn that my favorite indie game from 2022 is a little combat-focused video game called Sifu, which makes you feel like you're just some kind of badass John Wick type, cruising through, dealing with hordes of enemies all around you, and having the wherewithal and the patience and the strategy and the skills to stay alive and keep on trucking. I'm so happy that it's available on more than just the PlayStation and PC. Let's move on to the sim and strategy noms. We've got Dune, we've got Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, we've got Total War Warhammer 3 and 2 Point Campus, and also Victoria 3. That's the one that I haven't really checked out yet, but I've heard really good things. My vote, though, is for Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. I don't think this is a big surprise for anybody that's been watching my stuff on YouTube for a little while. I adore this game. It's not just about the unbelievably fun strategy experience and picking the right character with the right skill set to deal with these enemies in the right order, but it's also all the exploration and all the sort of fun RPG action-adventure stuff that they put in this game as well. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. I don't know if it's getting the love that it deserves. I think it's amazing. All right, let's look at the virtual reality and AR games. We've got After the Fall, Among Us VR, Bone Lab, Moss Book 2, and Red Matter 2. I have to say that the one that affected me most emotionally was Moss Book 2. I just thought that was a sensational game. I love the first one, obviously. It makes you the camera system in the game, and you're also, because you're moving the headset around, you're also engaging with the elements in the foreground and in the background. So you are helping this little character cruise around and do all of her objectives and get past all the puzzles that she's got to deal with. And it's just a great story as well. And you can see it's just lovingly crafted. I absolutely adore Moss Book 2. But again, I feel like one of the titles that was missed in this category, and maybe it's because it was already released on the PlayStation VR, but Iron Man VR is a system-selling experience. They had to make it for a totally different system on MetaQuest 2, and it runs beautifully on the MetaQuest 2. It's an unbelievable game. All right, let's move over to the audio design nominations. We've got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Gran Turismo 7, and there are no losers here, Horizon Forbidden West. All of them are fantastic nominees, and this one's a really hard category because they're kind of genre-specific, and if you like the sounds of like a Middle Ages creepy role-playing experience like Elden Ring, or you like the high-tech machinery of Horizon, or you like the Norse mythology and the sounds of axes hitting human flesh, you might like God of War. And this might be kind of a controversial decision from me that you guys think is kind of controversial, but I thought that the Modern Warfare 2 sounds, purely by the virtue of the soundscape that has to be created, is so diverse. There's so much sound in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. From all the gun sound effects, the way the weapons sound when you're firing them or when you're reloading them, all of the city sounds, all of the environmental sounds. It's really enveloping. It's such a huge part of underlining and making you believe these unbelievable situations that you get into in Call of Duty. It's that audio work. So my pick would be Modern Warfare 2. Let's move on to the performance nominations right now. We're going to start with Ashley Birch from Horizon Forbidden West, Charlotte McBurney from A Plague Tale Requiem, Christopher Judge from God of War Ragnarok, Manon Gage from Immortality, and Sonny Suljic, also from God of War. I think if you've been watching my reviews and watching me talk about games over the last little while, though, you know who I'm picking, and that is Christopher Judge, who is absolutely phenomenal as Kratos. Brings so much pathos, so much confusion to be this father that has to deal with this now adolescent son who is really coming unto himself. I'm talking about Atreus, who, Atreus is voiced expertly as well. All of these actors were great, but I don't know, there was something so emotionally convincing about Chris Judge's performance with a character that seems kind of one note on the surface. This is an actor that has really managed to make the storytelling and the narrative and the emotional impact of God of War be its biggest weapon. All right, let's take a look at the debut indie nominations. Neon White is in there, Norco, Stray, Tunic, and Vampire Survivors, which has been blowing up on the internet. So many of my friends in the video game industry, all the other journalists and stuff that I know and follow, are always playing and obsessed with Vampire Survivors. I played it, I dug it, but I think the debut indie title that impressed me the most, and I think it's because of the story of how it came together. I think this is made by one person with some help. It's such a sensational love letter to classic action role-playing experiences, adventure games. I'm talking about Tunic, which is just gorgeous. This was so intricately crafted, and the music and all of it, all aspects of this game was just so wonderful. The only thing that I found, hard to get past was how challenging the game is. It's a very hard game. It looks like anyone could just jump in and start playing, but it kicks your ass, that Tunic. We're going to move over to the art direction, and here are the nominees: Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, things you'd expect for sure, Horizon Forbidden West, Scorn, Stray. Scorn is beautiful, but I think the Callisto Protocol is more interesting. I think Scorn is, maybe because I didn't like Scorn. I streamed it for a couple hours, and I just got so bugged out and infuriated by it. But I wouldn't have put that on the list. I would have put Callisto Protocol had the awards gone all the way to the end of the year. And yes, Callisto Protocol is fraught with its own issues, but it's gorgeous, undeniably gorgeous. And the art direction is very solid in that game. So I would have put that in there. But my choice is Elden Ring, and it's because of the scope and the scale and the freedom and the variety in the environments and the enemy types and the creatures, and it's just so much art. You're like looking around. It's not all God of War caliber, but when you amplify how much you can traverse in Elden Ring and how far you can go and how much mystery is crafted because of the art, I think it's Elden Ring. Let's move on to narrative nominations. We've got A Plague Tale Requiem. I still haven't played that. Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Immortality. And this is a tough one because when you're talking about a game like Elden Ring, which is open world and very free form, and it lets you kind of explore its story kind of how you want to, And you contrast that with the very woven, very structured narrative of God of War or Plague Tale or even Horizon, which is also another, open world experience. They're very different. When I chose my choice here, I had to look at what affected me emotionally. And the thing that affected me the most that I played this year was God of War Ragnarok. I just was blown away by the power of the emotion that was being bottled up by these characters and inarticulated by these characters who worked so hard to express their care for each other, but in a way that left them incredibly vulnerable and confused, just human, Like, these are larger than life characters that are so humanized in this video game. And I'm talking about all the gods as well. It's not just Kratos and Atreus. It's like all the other characters, Thor and his relationship with his family, Odin. It's an amazing storytelling. But the Kratos story is the one that really got me. And the way that they wove the storytelling and the acting and the modeling, the character modeling, and the tight shots that we got on Kratos, you could see the wrinkles and you could see him flexing his brow, and he's just trying to grapple. Like, the biggest challenge that Kratos faces is how he's going to tell his son that he loves him, and give him space. And I mean, it's amazing work. Okay, let's switch over to action nominations, and we're talking about Bayonetta 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Neon White, Sifu, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Again, you can't go wrong with any one of those choices, but I'm going to give it to from my perspective, I'm giving it to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and it's because it was such a out-of-nowhere shock that we got a 16-bit style side-scrolling superhero experience, which was made with such true love. And even though this is familiar, it's very fresh in 2022, and I applaud it. I am so impressed by the commitment from Tribute and from .emu. I think they just did something just extraordinary with this game. It's fun on every freaking level, and it's so easy to share that fun as well, and I think that makes that game incredibly special. We are going to move on to the role-playing nominees. Elden Ring is up there, of course. Live Alive, happy to see that. Pokemon Legends Arceus. Triangle Strategy, happy to see that. Xenoblade Chronicles 3. But it's Elden Ring. I mean, if Elden Ring doesn't win the role-playing game of the year, people are drunk, because I mean, it was just so big and mysterious, and the characters were so intriguing, and the bosses that you meet and the creatures that you meet just roaming the land. I mean, everywhere you turn is story, is incredibly conceived ideas to kind of push us along inside of this rich role-playing world. Even giant lobsters and crabs. It was amazing. So Elden Ring gets my vote, but if you really like RPGs, you should have a Switch, because boy, they made a lot of awesome Switch RPGs. And honestly, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is an incredible role-playing game. And I know it doesn't technically run with the same level of smoothness that Arceus does. One could argue that it's a better game. Like, it's really good. Maybe I will argue that when I'm finally ready to review that game. Now let's move over to the best adaptation. We've got Arcane, League of Legends, Cyberpunk Edge Runners. I watched some of that. It was cool. Cuphead show's fun. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and that terrible Uncharted movie should not be on that list. It was awful. It was how not to adapt something that we love and know very well. Don't do that. That should be in the don't do that category at the Game Awards. Don't do that. The thing that I'm going to hope wins, because I'm loving the direction, is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Wasn't as good as the first one, but it was hella fun, and Jim Carrey is the highlight there. He's amazing as Dr. Robotnik, and there's just so much good comedy and cool visual effects and, all of these great homages to classic 2D Sonic and all that stuff. And Idris Elba was in there. All right, let's go to the fighting nominations. Talking about DNF Duel, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. We got King of Fighters 15, Multiverses, and Sifu. Sifu is not a fighting game. You fight in the action-adventure game. It's an action game. I really enjoyed playing King of Fighters 15 when I played it. I think it's a beautiful game. I'm a huge fan of the SNK fighters from over the years. I've always loved them. I'm not like a super obsessed fan that knows all of the characters and all of the moves and all of their histories and all, but I just love the way they attack their fighting experiences. And this was a really cool 3D fighting game. I mean, they really did a solid job with it. I loved what they did when they went to 3D with The Last Samurai Showdown as well. And this is kind of taking that and extending it out with more of the characters from their universe. So King of Fighters 15 gets it from me. Okay, let's go to the family games. And we got Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Lego Star Wars, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Nintendo Switch Sports, and Splatoon 3. Some big hitters there. I liked all of those games, but the game that I think is the best game out of that list, and also very fun for a family, with the caveat that you have to be Star Wars fans, is Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. There was just so much game in this game, you know, like so many worlds to explore, so many characters to collect, so much imagination, and even though it has a lot of the sequel trilogy stuff in there that people weren't fans of, it's different when you play it, you know? And all that music as well, all the incredible John Williams music. I absolutely loved Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, and what was really impressive for me for that game was how well it ran on the Nintendo Switch. It's a great Switch title. You really don't lose anything when you play it on the Switch. Let's take a look at the music nominations. Plague Tale, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Metal Hellsinger, there's some interesting work in that for sure, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. They're all really solid soundtracks, but Bear McCreary's work in God of War is the one that really got me. I mean, it's all part and parcel with the emotional punch of the game, right? And this was a game that really rocked me. Like I was affected by it in a similar direction to what the Uncharted games have done and what especially the Last of Us games have done. And that still shocks me. That's what I take away from playing this series, the last two God of War games. And a huge part of it is the music and how it threads into place and makes it all much more effective and punches it all up. It's beautiful. Okay, let's move on to the game direction nominations. We're talking about Elden Ring is nominated, God of War is nominated, Horizon for all the familiar players, Immortality from Sam Barlow, and Stray is nominated. It's pretty hard to compare Stray to God of War. And Immortality is a very interesting experience because it's about, it's almost like you're playing Rick Deckard in Blade Runner and you're scanning through all this footage and you're saying, enhance. It's like you're doing that. You're having the footage kind of scale into you and you're looking for all these secrets inside of this video material. It's really cool. Very weird, very cool. I think this category, this game design category, is really about Elden Ring, and it's really about God of War, and to some extent it's about Horizon Forbidden West. But I think for me, it's Elden Ring, and it's because of the different elements of design that you have. And so much of it is left up to you as this explorer to kind of figure out. The game doesn't hold your hand at all, and so there is so much locked behind this mystery, and your efforts and your commitment to explore and to keep finding new things and finding your way in this incredibly challenging game. But it's also so bloody rewarding, right? If you take that time and, you know, you get beat down by a boss over and over again or whatever, and you change your tack and you go in a different direction, it just opens up. It's just so incredible that way. And I think that there is beautiful design in both God of War and Horizon Forbidden West, but it's an enhancement of the things that we've seen before in their previous iterations. All fantastic. But for my money, best game design goes to Elden Ring. All right, let's go over to the multiplayer nominations. Call of Duty is in there, of course. Modern Warfare 2. Multiverses is in there. Overwatch 2, yes, of course. Splatoon 3. And also Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, and all of those games are awesome. Overwatch 2, I think, is amazing that you can just download it and start playing for free. But again, my personal choice would be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, and I think what's beautiful about this game, it was unique in 2022, but it was familiar. But you can share it with your friends and your family in the same room, or you can get online and have just this chaotic thing with 6 different people, and it's again, you're reinforcing the value in awesome games like this and awesome titles like this, and it's so effortless to share. It's so enjoyable. It's just so much fun to play. And because it's so unique in this category that's loaded with shooters and experiences that are familiar for multiplayer players out there, I think Turtles kind of gets it, you know? I think Turtles is the standout because of its originality in 2022, even though it's playing with a lot of familiar tropes there. So I'd give it to Turtles. All right, let's go into the Game of the Year nominations. We've got A Plague Tale Requiem. I promise I'll play this and come back with some thoughts on it. Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, of course, Horizon 2 Forbidden West, Stray, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And I think we have to be honest here, It's about God of War versus Elden Ring. This is what the discussion has been, I think, throughout the year. And I've gone back and forth on who I think will win or who I think deserves the win. And as effective as God of War was as this emotionally powerful Norse escapism, I have to give it to just the sheer scope and scale of Elden Ring. And even though, the From Software model, the titles that they make, I find excruciatingly difficult and very tough to review for me because it's hard for me to get anywhere in these damn games. But Elden Ring was different because it gives you the opportunity to backtrack and try something else somewhere else and then come back, after you've leveled up a little bit or you've picked up enough, loot or things that will help you in your conflicts. And all the while, you're just awed by the majesty and the mystery of the world that you're exploring. Thanks for taking part in this sort of preview of the Game Awards. Let's see how I do with my choices and picks, and let's see how all of you do with yours. But we will see you soon. Thank you so much for following, you guys. We'll see you soon. And until then, play forever.